people, it's Louise here. I was sitting here and thinking a lot about how we learn, because I really am in quite distress because of the fact that I cannot read. I used to read philosophical texts and all kinds of stuff, but a huge amount of anxiety for the last couple of years has made that impossible for me. So my tarot journey is, I cannot do such a journey with the usual abilities or tools that I'm used to having, and that is my intellect, and especially also my emotions, my ability to sort of feel what others feel, etc. Also, that is quite inhibited for me at the moment. I'm not saying that I'm completely blind to other people's perspectives or states of being at all, but it's in a very dull state. So my usual ways of navigating when learning something or when simply being alive, my usual ways of being alive have simply changed radically, and that poses a lot of questions, and among many questions it poses the question of how to learn. Usually we would draw like cards and say, okay, what does it mean, and then try looking at it and getting in contact with it. But I've been thinking about for some time, trying it the other way around, trying to approach the cards from a specific state of being or an emotion or situation, and then figuring out which card would actually correspond to that situation or state or context. And today I really would like to just have give a bit of attention to the Eight of Wands first of all, because in the process, the personal process I've been through the last couple of years, I really have been unraveling a lot of stuff, and before this video I had to unravel a lot of this knitting because it had become too tight, and it made me think of the Eight of Wands, because when you feel that something is too tight or maybe too loose, but in this case too tight, there's no holes in the pattern where air can come in or out. There's no breathing in the pattern, and so those very stable or those stable ways of being passionate about something or building something in your life, sometimes they just become too tightly entangled, or just it doesn't, you cannot breathe. And that's what anxiety does. It makes you feel like you're choking, or it gives you this those very physical disturbing experiences, it's like a black hole inside of you, maybe in your stomach, your chest, or your throat, that simply tightens, and it becomes smaller and smaller, but at the same time also more and more dense and heavy, and that causes a lot of pain physically, really. So anxiety is not just something in your mind. It's not just about changing your thoughts. It's really also a very physical experience. And anxiety to me is like a double sword. And so that brings the Nine of Swords on the stage, because the Nine of Swords is of course in the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition. It's the nightmare card. To me, it could be not missed, definitely, but it's also a card that represents reassessing yourself, like thinking about yourself. It's reflection, and it's about cutting new lines into the very established ways of thinking about yourself, or the established ways of learning, or the established ways of having ideals about yourself and other people, and your connection with the world, etc. So this sword is just not. I mean, it has it's double-edged, I think it's called in English. So on the one hand, anxiety can make you. Sorry, I just had to see if. I think it's still working. Okay, so on the one hand, anxiety can make you can give you distorted ideas about yourself or about the world. It can distort your proportions, or your sense of proportions. And on the other hand, I mean, that's what anxiety does when it's really bad and it's gone haywire. But on the other hand, anxiety can also be your very best friend and tell you that the way you're going is wrong for you. Like, it can be the best reminder ever for you to change course. So anxiety can also be very tightly connected with gut feelings. Hi there again. I was interrupted. The phone went crazy, and yeah, something about lack of storage or whatever. So just to pick up where I left, I was talking about the double-edged sword in the Nine of Swords, and as a card of uncertainty or insecurity or doubts, etc., in reassessing yourself and in knowing whether you can trust yourself or not. That makes really sense when it comes to anxiety, because of anxiety having those two aspects. So one of them being the gut feelings associated with the anxiety and the anxiety helping you out, and the other side being anxiety distorting your ability to judge situations or to see clearly. So yeah, this card is very it has a very central, and has had a very central place in my life for the last couple of years. And so at the same time that I went back to studying the tarot, I hadn't looked at it for 20 years. I went back to the tarot because it actually helped me sort of categorize, what's this emotion, what's that emotion, what happens when I do this in my mind, what happens in my body, etc. And I found that the tarot could actually sort of map out those different aspects of being human. So yeah, and as I started out talking, about the unraveling stuff, of course life doesn't just unravel. You cannot just go back and rewind, and start all over, but you can tidy up. And that's the tough part, you can take a look at those patterns when all of a sudden there's no air coming through the texture, you know, and you can actually become aware of what has happened here in patterns that you maybe liked or that you used to be able to thrive with or in, and unraveling, tidying up your patterns and the way something has become too tight or too loose maybe, also means that you probably experience a lot of anxiety or stress or whatever, and depression as well, but that's not for me the 9 of Swords, but that's for another video. And in my case it really left me in a void, because not being able to use my intellect or my usual very delicate emotional senses left me in a void, and for me the task for the moment is to stay here and see what happens and tune into myself in completely different ways than what I'm used to. And I cannot learn through my intellect and through my emotions, because it causes me so much anxiety, and so I have to stop it. And I take that as a sign of this anxiety being a gut feeling, like, stop it, you know, don't use your usual ways of understanding or feeling or whatever. Tune in a different way and see what happens, and that has to do with spirituality for me. So yeah, just to round up this video, which is done in quite a different format than I usually have been doing for some weeks, is to actually stay grounded and tune in through the very concrete and not take a card and just ramble on, you know, because I cannot. I would have been able to do it 5 years ago, but I cannot now. It's like I'm becoming disabled because I have to learn something new. So starting with the very concrete stuff in life and tuning in on, well, not just myself, but but the tone of myself, the tone really, the vibration, people would say, tuning in and getting a better sense of yourself, not really your ego, but yourself, or your, in Danish we have a word called væsen, and it's really hard to translate it to English, but it's like, it's a creature, but it's how your inner creature lives. The essence maybe, or the tone of your energy, etc. That is what I'm tuning into, and I love to do it through knitting. In general, that's really my thing, and I think I would do another video soon on how you tune into stuff, you know, how you tune into this Zen mode, or your creative or your restorative sense of being. I would like to do another video of that, because I would love to hear your responses as well on how you did, because it really interests me, because that's really where we find the gold. So yeah, I think I'll stop this video and say thank you, and oh yeah, and this thing lying here is my cat Nefertiti, and she's so tired because she was out running all day, so she's just taking care of the yarn here and sleeping. So yeah, take care guys, ciao.